I think that's exactly right. Before we sort of get into sort of four cities, because I do want to learn more a bit about what you're doing there, I want to quickly just go back to the notion of connecting with the LPs. And you mentioned sovereign wealth funds. You mentioned we just spoke about institutional, and there's also a class of like high net worth individuals or people who who are able to become accredited and invest in funds. Now, I guess the question is, what should be your archetype LP if you are an emerging fund manager? I probably already know the answer to this, but it would be great to sort of see, the perspectives, but also help people and sort of emerging fund managers themselves learn a bit more about like, where should I spend my energy? Because I think going to the wrong LPs is the wrong way to go about it. So what would be the type of LPs you would target, as you are raising your first time fund?
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. It was one I was very curious about as well, so much so that I actually completed my senior capstone on this very topic while a senior at university. And the output of that capstone was that it's primarily high net worth individuals and family offices that invest in first-time funds and emerging managers. Now, that was the output of my capstone from research on PitchBook and Preqin and lots of data reports. But as I've now started having coffee chats with emerging managers and first-time fund managers, I think I put an asterisk by that answer. While it is primarily high net worth individuals and family offices who have the risk appetite to invest in a manager who is early on in their fund life cycle due to a personal relationship, there are many instances where there are nuances, where a fund manager could be spinning out of another fund where they were a GP for, say, let's say a decade, and they built out a strong track record for themselves, and they developed relationships with LPs in that other fund, and they had decided to go and spin out and start their own fund. And we see this a lot, experienced managers spin off and start a solo GP fund. Well, that manager who've developed relationships with LPs at that prior fund, who has a strong track record, who has gotten to know LPs over numerous fund cycles while there, might bring that relationship over to its new fund. And so I think that could be an exception when an institutional LP comes into the conversation for a first-time or emerging fund manager. As I complete these LP spotlights, and I'll link them back as they're posted, I've spoken with two LPs, one which is an institutional LP based in Boston. They back first-time fund managers in that same example, spinning off from an existing manager and who they've developed a relationship like, and think they're targeting a new strategy that fits well into the portfolio construction. Another LP I've just recently spoke with is actually a fund of funds, and they have a really interesting portfolio construction where they dedicate, let's say, 10% of the overall fund size specifically to what they call nano funds, which are small emerging managers, with the whole thesis that this category of first time and new managers is being overlooked by institutional LPs due to the nature of the smaller fund size, when in reality, this can be a really great, source of talent and new capital being deployed into startups that perhaps, are being overlooked. And so while my thesis output was high net worth individuals and family offices, which I still do believe is the case, I think I would add that asterisk now that it does depend where the manager is coming from.